In this video, we're going to be exploring how to use the VideoIPath Panel application to create custom web page-based interfaces to enable operators to have a smoother experience while operating the environment. Within this application, you can do a variety of different bits of functionality, all embedded within the same panel. And again, it's using that same drag and drop experience that we had with the hardware panels within the panel app. So just to have a little bit of orientation, as I said, the panels enable us to do a variety of different bits of functionality. So this is an example of a simple crosspoint matrix where we have our multi-viewer layout, every single pip that's in this multi-viewer stack, and then groups of different sources that we could send to those destinations. If we press on the hamburger, we can see the different projects that we have already had set up within the system. This enables you to group different pages of functionality into a more logical way for your workflows. Here is some examples of the different types of panels that we're able to create within VideoIPath. Device control on Sony system cameras, leveraging the CNA2. And here is an example on a third-party device, the Imagine SMP, of how we can change different parameters related to audio processing. This enables us to change individual processors or bulk change everything on that particular card, enabling operators to have a more streamlined and customizable experience within the panel application. So going back to the main production wall, as I said, this enables us to make cross points between different devices. And as you can see here, we have a variety of different groups on our cameras, whether those are, in this example, SDR cameras, or whether those are HDR cameras. But that doesn't answer the important question. How do you create and customize your own panels? So let's explore that functionality in a bit more detail. First, pressing the plus icon here, and let's call this one test. And press save. This then generates us a blank canvas to start adding a variety of different pieces into this system. Press on the edit, and then we can see the nice grid layout here. Then pressing the left arrow, we get our variety of different buttons and action types. So let's just add a few in here. Let's add a clock. And then I'll create a very simple example of how to change one of the pips on this multi-viewer, just to give you that example of the different layers of functionality within. So we'll need an endpoint, and also we'll need an endpoint tree, and then a connect and disconnect button. So these will need a little bit of further fine tuning to set those configurations. Let's now add in that additional bit of data to customize the buttons. So this is going to be a multi-viewer destination. I can remember that this is multi-viewer 36, pip 1. I'm going to select group type so I can filter on groups, and then I need multi-viewer 36, pip 1. Press save on that, and that brings in that destination into the system. Now let's configure an endpoint tree to give us grouping of sources in a more logical manner for the user. So pressing on the cog, we then have the ability to add in separate folders. So this first one I'll call SDR, and the second one I will call HDR. Now going back to our first one, SDR, we can populate with endpoints. This here gives us the ability, obviously, to select whether it is a source or a destination endpoint. This will be a source, and we can have different preview destinations as well. Let's change the type to be groups so we can quickly filter for all of our SDR sources. Type in SDR into the filter, and as you can see, all of our virtual camera SDR sources are there. Let's do the same for the HDR sources. Again, select that type to groups, and then HDR. You'll notice here that we're using one of our save filters, which is our VCAM, and then any filters that have been previously configured within the environment are able to be selected here. We obviously want the cameras, so let's save and close this. Now, we're also able to change the size of the buttons to make them a bit more user-friendly. So let's make this a little bit bigger. Save that, and then as you can see, we have a very, very basic panel. So let's select the destination, cameras SDR, and we'll select that SDR camera 1, press connect. As you can tell, we've got no cameras connected at the moment, so you'll notice that the UMD and the tally status changes on that particular pip. Within the system, we have two different types of take functionality. You just seen me use the indirect take, where the user has to confirm that take before it will actually happen. We also have the ability to use direct take. So the moment I press my source, it will change automatically. And as you see, the pip has changed. We also have this functionality within VideoIPath to undo different connections if they've been made. So if I quickly show you that, select my destination, make the direct connection, and then you see this pop-up that relates to undoing. So you'll notice that the tally status and the UMD have changed to camera 1. I can now undo that to the previous state within the software panel. And actually that functionality is across the board when you're making connections within VideoIPath, whether it's in the Matrix app, in one of the Studio Connect applications, or even in these panels. You can undo that crosspoint just in case it was actually a mistake. This is obviously a very simple example of the sorts of panels you can create and connect. But as with our hardware panels, we're able to change some of the styling on individual buttons. So for example, I can change my color, I can change the fill, I'm able to change the text size. I'm also able to change where the text is aligned. So if you wanted to have slightly more parameters or customization on top of those connections, it's very easy to do. Within VideoIPath, we have a lot of user access control functionality, and that includes being able to limit which users are able to see individual panels, giving you that ability to really lock down what an individual operator position is able to do within the solution. We also have the ability to add in favorited panels into a quick access menu selection. So to do this, press on the pencil icon, and as you see here, there is a favorite page add to sidebar button. Click that, save this, and then as you can see here, under the production test area, there is a shortcut between this VCAM panel and this test panel that we have just created. One of the other things that we're able to do with these web panels is start to control parameters on different devices. So let me navigate to a different page. I go to the CNA2. Here is an example of mic gain control. And in this, we have a variety of different buttons to change that classic scenario where you need to adjust the mic gain on those CCUs. So to create these buttons, what we do, I press Edit. You can see here that we have a variety of different buttons. And if I just press on the cog here to show you an example, this is a parameter control widget. I mentioned earlier that this enables us to change a parameter on an end device rather than just monitoring it. So this is an example using the Sony CNA2 to change different parameters using the API functionality of that device to our advantage. So here we have pre-selected the CNA2 device, and here is the text string that needs to be inputted. Obviously, every single API has different examples of different levels of functionality. And in this example, as I say, we're controlling the mic gain. And here we're setting the value to 0, which we know to be -20 dB. These are able to be not only a button type, which is how we're displaying here, but we're also able to do rotary encoders to change between different scales, and also a static text icon rather than having it to have to do an action. I hope this gives you a good overview of some of the functionality that you can build into software panels within VideoIPath to get you started.